Mnangagwa has included his son in his cabinet. Kuda Mnangagwa will now join Parliament as Deputy Finance Minister and Economic Development. The 35-year-old's inclusion is part of the youth quota. We're now joined by Nigel Nyamutumbu, independent journalist in Zimbabwe. Thank you very much, Nigel, for your time this afternoon. Perhaps let's start with the composition of the cabinet overall. So Mthuli Ncube retains his position as the Finance Minister. When he first came in, there was so much expectation, but the economy of Zimbabwe has failed to make a turnaround. What has been the reaction to his retention in this position?
Yes, I think this new cabinet announcement really sounded more like a reshuffle of some sort, predominantly retaining the core of last year's or the last term's rather cabinet. So what you've got is that you essentially have your ministers that did not perform very well in the last administration returned in instrumental positions. Professor Mthuli Ncube, Kirsty Coventry, and even others within the Home Affairs Ministry and other critical social provision ministers who, despite the evident failures, despite the sustained challenges that the country still faces in respect of the socio-economic and indeed political sphere, have still been retained. So it's been a reshuffle. Yes, there has been a new entry of new players, but with the big story obviously being the appointment of his son to a critical ministry of deputizing the finance ministry, entry of Tenda Mavetera in the ICT ministry, but predominantly it's been a reshuffle of his inner circle and the core team that constituted its first administration.
Let's take a look at the inclusion of his son as the Deputy Finance Minister. What do we know about him and his credentials?
Well, he's a political novice insofar as the mainstream politics is concerned. Yes, he's been involved naturally in the youth league of the ruling party and has been involved in some student activism. But it is at least his appointment has at least three challenges. Firstly, the question of experience. For you to deputize a finance ministry at a time that the country is reeling in an economic crisis. In other words, when there is need for experience, when there is need for expertise, when there is need for really exploring and opening of new investment opportunities, you bring in on board someone who does not have any proven track record of not or of repute within the finance sector to then be aiding and assisting the ministry in investment promotion and in managing these stringent resources at a time of a global recession is the first challenge. Secondly, even within the rank and file of ZANU-PF, of the ruling party itself, he is not experienced and strong enough to push back the quasi-physical activities that the Minister of Finance has been pressured to implement, and worse still, the third challenge, him being son to the president, makes it more a case of nepotism than any well thought out ministerial appointment.
We understand as well that his nephew, Kuda Mnangagwa, is the Deputy Minister of Tourism. But the leader of the CCC said on Sunday, leading into Monday night, in a tweet, mentioned that there were some soldiers who were called to State House and they were disarmed. Do you have any knowledge of that?
Well, what I have knowledge of is that indeed since voting day or post-voting day, there have been rounds by police and in some instances riot police that have been doing rounds predominantly in the streets of the city center in Harare, and they have in the latest incident over the weekend forced the closure of a certain club, and with the circumstances not necessarily disclosed, and it's something that had been obtaining in the lead up to the announcement of results and beyond. And what it has been is been led to analysts, dissecting the issue as a paranoia of potential citizen unrest, and also if the events that happened at a football match in Mulawayo between the two biggest football clubs in Zimbabwe was anything to go by. You could tell there is some semblance of unrest that perhaps is being curtailed, and the sooner there is some consensus building or dialogue process to try and build synergies between the governed and those that are governing, the better for the country, as tensions are still relatively high, and with those incidences I was referring to of police closing bars, social events, night sports, and being present, positing those challenges.
Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Nigel Nyamutumbu is an independent journalist.